What's happening, Jazz Memes fam? It's Cory Wong. I'm here with Kevin Gastonguay and Yohannes Tona. We're here in Miami Beach because we're doing a little show here, a little live stream with Nu-Deco Ensemble. Shilling backstage in the literally green-ish room.
Yep.
Burning clean fuel here. That's my first tip. Burn clean fuel before the gig. Come correct to the gig. Come clean to the gig. Okay? Now, we were just discussing something that I want to talk about with you guys, with you all. Okay. I was thinking about solos. On this particular performance, we each have a few different solos. And
Main ingredients.
for keeping it clean or for solos?
Yeah, before solos. Definitely before solos.
You got the Avo solo?
Yeah, man. Gotta get it in.
One a night, at least.
Yeah.
One Avo. I'm a morning Avo guy.
Yeah, I know, midday, man.
Midday Avo?
Yeah, pre-rehearsal. Because post-rehearsal,
Hold up, were you just balancing that coffee cup on your knee? What was that?
post-rehearsal, it's coffee and banana.
Bro, that's impressive.
Oh, that's my grandpa.
That's your grandpa?
Yeah, that's his move. I learned it when I was a kid. Okay, I'm gonna do that when I grow up.
Now, the word for coffee in Ethiopian is buna.
Got it?
I try to learn a few words in the native tongue of my friends that I hang out with. Buna, it happens to be, I think, the only Ethiopian word that I know.
Yes, and
Now you know too.
Anyways, soloing. We each have a few solos. We were just discussing this. Here's kind of my philosophy. Some people think, especially I actually learned this a lot from my jazz instructors. They told me, never play the same thing twice. Always just the most creative flow, whatever's in the moment thing, which there is a valid time and a place for that, and you definitely should express your creative self in the moment, live in the moment, wherever that takes you. But my approach lately has been more of, I will kind of craft my solos with checkpoints. Because I think it's okay to do that. Just the same way you would craft a composition, you craft a story or a poem or a lyric.
absolutely.
You craft your solo, and then you kind of follow along with checkpoints, allowing spaces to open. So I will normally, when I approach soloing, and the way that I've seen a lot of people actually do it who tour 30, 40 shows in a tour, one way to kind of sustain that creative energy is to kind of craft some of that space for yourself. What's up?
Man, I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Man, my fucking ukulele. I interrupted the interview for the ukulele. I'm sorry, bro.
Oh man, you're good.
Yeah.
That's actually
It's all
a good idea. That's part of improvisation. Yeah.
You gotta roll with it. You gotta make it work.
Yeah.
The thing that's funny about that,
Of all the instruments.
he said effing ukulele. Such an aggressive word to come right before the most innocent instrument that I can think of. You know, like, oh, I gotta grab my effing ukulele.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of fun.
That seems scripted.
Dude, jazz, bro. That was jazz.
You can't practice that.
I think it's okay. I think it's okay to craft the dynamic arc of your solo, to craft the rhythmic density of your solo in checkpoints. So I know I'm going to come out of the gate, kind of long tones, interesting note choices, and then I'm gonna do that for 2 phrases, and then the next phrase I'm gonna build up rhythmic density and dynamic arc to push it along, to move the story along, and then I'm gonna start to go higher in range on my instrument, and I have this sort of harmonic concept that I'm gonna explore when I get there, and then from there I'm gonna, 3 phrases later, I'm gonna take it up to, or 3 cycles later, whatever, I'm gonna take it up to this other place. Now, that is a way to craft the road, or it's like, here's the road to get there, but you can choose which lane. I don't know, maybe that's not the right metaphor, but even though you're kind of crafting the outline of it, there's so much creativity that still lies within that. And to me, it's more like, okay, I'm going to build this playground that goes to this playground that goes to this playground. The playground has been set. Now I just choose how to play within that. Like, but this one has monkey bars. This one has swings. Cool. There's no less creativity if you set that sort of thing up. And I think there are objective ways that we can set ourselves up for even more creativity if we do that sort of thing every once in a while, especially if it's night after night after night. I remember having talking. We had this gig that we did. We did a Tuesday night gig for 7 years, and there was one point, maybe around year 6, where it just felt like we were kind of at a stalemate. It wasn't, because I think we were in this place where we felt like we had to do something new every song, every solo.
Yeah.
And then I just didn't feel like I actually had any creative juice left.
Yeah.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
But I think you have been in the same situation. You have to kind of believe, like when I was playing, say with a combo, like what can I do to this song? Really, I've done everything that I know about this song.
Yeah.
But then I would always be surprised is if you just open up. You know, you have your idea, but if you don't force it, you'd be surprised what comes out of it. You know, that's kind of almost inside of what you craft. You know where to start, what kind of idea that you go for. But if you leave enough of that openness for the music to kind of react to guide you, there's always a little surprise, you know. Some people love to execute the same exact thing, you know, week, year, you know, day after day. But I think I find it a little more interesting just for my brain to find a little openness, and stuff may happen.
Yeah.
You know, and it's on. You still have the general idea of where to start, where to go, but if you leave some room and you just react to what you hear,
Yeah.
sometimes it's amazing.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, we're kind of talking about licks. Not having licks that you're going to be playing, but having more of a, like, oh, I want to get this lick in. I want to get this lick in. I have like 10 licks that I like, and I'm going to fit it into the solo, but having, like, what I'm going to do every night is...
Nobody wants to hear that.
Maybe a concept, or like, maybe a certain, every phrase, like maybe different, a different concept every 16 bars or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can rearrange them, like, you can take the path however you want to go each night, kind of a different playground, you know? You know? But if you have the concept, it's going to be, you're not going to be focusing on licks or playing anything. You're just focusing on maybe you're playing long notes for 16 bars and short notes for 16 bars and just different ideas and just milking them.
Should you be thinking while you're soloing?
I am.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I mean, I think it's.
I'm not sure what I'm doing really.
That's a very. Should you be thinking when you're soloing?
Okay, no, I just did lower notes. Let's go to short notes.
Yeah, it's not like. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna start.
Right.
It's like
right, but you're latching on to like an idea to like keep turning around. You're like looking at this certain little concept in all these different ways and kind of seeing what you can get out of it for like for 16, 32 bars, or someone does something in the band that you're responding to. You're like, oh man, I want to, you know, riff on that and kind of get this dynamic going.
See, there's like a long hold of 2 bars, and bam, bam, 2, 3. Like when you see the guy that comes. You know what I'm saying? Is that okay? In the world of jazz, should you be?
But I don't think you should be seen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and. But I think, for me, because I've had so many times where I've felt like I just don't know if what I'm doing actually is creative. I don't know if what I'm doing actually is, like, I'm just kind of, sometimes this is much less the last 5 years. I feel like all through my 20s, I was just throwing darts. Like, oh, that one hit a board?
Yeah.
And just throwing darts. But I think now, I think what helps me, because creativity has, the majority of it is subjective, and there's not much that is actually objective when it comes to creativity. I think you can pin objective things to go for and use creativity within those bounds. What I mean is, if you're talking about a certain concept, it's at least giving you a vision. So I just think about my eyes on the bullseye, or my eyes on the triple 20, or whatever. I mean, I always think about a dartboard, like what am I aiming for? And that always helps give me vision, and then that's what I'm focused on. And if it's, here's this rhythmic concept that I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do this strong backbeats, but all this subdivision has this kind of underlying undercurrent. That to me, that's my vision, but the execution is just in the flow state. If my eyes are on the prize, all the execution comes and I'm not thinking about anything other than that. Or if it's, I hear Lydian, I want to go for like a cool Lydian dominant sound on this part. I'll play, and then that's kind of the vision for something, and
that's your
I'm more concentrated on how it feels and how it ties in with the groove of what's happening, so I don't have to think about specific licks or specific things. Certainly our fingers go to certain things when we play instruments with your fingers, but I think, I don't know, for me, I try to pin objective things that creativity can get me to, because at least at the end of the night or at the end of the tune, I can try to at least say, oh yeah, I got that one, that was a win. I didn't really feel like that was it, or that was a win, but you know what, the target was just wrong. I think I actually don't want to aim for that. I want to aim for this target instead.
I think there's pretty much I think a good story of, people that are intentional about what they want to sound, what they want to do. And I think I've also seen some people, I've heard of a very famous musician that basically goes to sleep in between takes. And like, and he goes in and it's amazing.
Did Michael Bland record it? Yeah. You hear the story from Michael Bland? I know what you're talking about.
But I kind of like that freedom, and from my experience, whenever I plan out what I do, I'm never happy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Whenever I kind of basically, my ideal thing is really like a karate, This is an example of this guy that basically learned a karate, and he learned all of his steps, and he goes out, find this guy to fight, and he was basically counting the first step, and he did like 3 flips this way and that way, and the guy just looked at him, just pulled out a gun and he just looked, But if he was somebody like, maybe Bruce Lee or somebody, would just basically react to the situation. You practice as much as you can, like to be able to react to any uncertain situations.
Yeah.
And that way you are absolutely free. You don't know what you're gonna do until you faced with it. Is that kind of liberating in a way to be able to, there's, like I said, it's not a better or, but there's, I think, a place where people are completely, approaching it, how it works with their body and,
Yeah. Well, I think there's certain, if you look at the history of great improvisers, there's people that have amazing concept where I listen and it comes across as if something's more calculated. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it comes across as more in the moment, just, there's like putting Coltrane putting his Coltrane concept or Coltrane changes over tunes that don't have that. It's like, well, you kind of can't do that without thinking about it. That's calculated, and at some point that's in there. Like there's certain things that are in the language that's learned, and certain licks and part of the language that I think you have to turn that on. But if there's certain things like Coltrane where that feels like some of the stuff's calculated, some of it feels like A Love Supreme may be a totally different story, right? He's got such a wide and deep net. You listen to people like Roy Hargrove, that's like a totally different thing where that comes across a different way. It feels less calculated, but it's not any worse, any better of a concept.
It's just a spectrum.
Yeah.
You're talking about two different, both are good.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, and again, back to what you were saying about, you were talking about having a concept. One of the things a lot of young jazz musicians especially, what they face is, okay, they got all the chops, they've done all their homework, but the attention to the show, the performance, they kind of just wing that. And you would definitely speak to this, like, there definitely is more you can get out of the audience when you come to them with a more thought, anything brought with a little bit more thought to the table can usually bring out a little bit better results when it comes to that show, you know? If you just show up and you're just like, we're gonna jam on 10 tunes, that may not come across, even if you're amazing players, may not come across or land as someone who comes out and says, you know what, but this song is gonna have this vibe, which is gonna contrast with the next tune. You're not being specific too much, so you still have freedom, but you're giving it so that there is an arc and you're taking that audience on that arc.
Yeah. And it's the intentionality and thinking about the audience experience.
Yeah.
Because you should be in service to them. Of course, you want to express your creative self, but if there's a couple thousand people paying to watch you play, you need to respect them. They deserve your respect, and they deserve intentionality. So, yeah, you might be, in your zone and in your thing, but I think it's important to address how to make it the maximum amount of enjoyment for them. And I think for some people, they're there to see the weird artist is just, and they don't address the audience, and maybe that's what they want. And sometimes people just want to be entertained. They want to be helped along the night. Some people go, I don't know how I'm supposed to enjoy this show. Help me. No. And leave enough to my imagination. But yeah, I think a lot of times people neglect the actual performance and audience perspective of it. Like you were just talking about this jam session we went to. It was cool because the bass player who sat in just played a part, literally the whole song. And there was no need for anything else. He didn't have any ego about it. He just grooving, and that's what helped the whole thing work.
Well, and then the whole band responds to that, and it's like, oh, you're just playing a part? I'm gonna find a part.
Yeah.
And like everyone else is just playing parts, and we come up with this really cool, unique thing.
Yeah.
Just about people being disciplined. Like it's cool.
I think one of the best compliments I think I've gotten one time from a drummer is like, dude, I like that you're not afraid to groove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to play what is needed as opposed to what you could do.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't always do that, but when he said it, I was like, wow, that's, I didn't even think of it as a compliment, but he recognized something that I was like, you didn't have to prove yourself every time you play.
Yeah, and it's in this case, I felt like it was contagious.
Yeah.
And very much effective.
Kind of what we're talking about, getting the audience on board with your solos, and having like a concept and stuff. Having a clear concept often makes the band you're playing with play better with you.
Yeah.
And you have this dynamic with the band. You're going to sound better. The band is going to be on board with all of your changes, with like forcing these kind of clear phrases that make sense. Just having some sort of, like having that kind of plan without having, these obviously like actual notes you're going to play, but you're going to keep the band engaged with you. It's just going to make everything like audience and like the vibe on stage. Like it's
what about 2000 versus 20?
What?
2,000 versus 20 people.
Oh, in the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. That's a whole other can of worms. But the jam session thing is a little bit of it's a unique that's a different thing because the audience is the audience, but they're also like you're also kind of playing for each other, and the audience, that's part of the expectation of a jam session too. You need to understand that a lot of people that as an audience that go to see jam sessions want to see that interaction, and it is less about you to like the performer to the audience. Where if I'm paying $60 to see George Benson play a show, I want George to entertain me, and he's going to do so because he's incredible, and he's also going to interact with his band. But at a jam session, I'm paying $5 to go hang out and just see this kind of community thing. I'm expecting to see more interaction there, and the musicians kind of play for each other a little bit, but also you're setting each other up, like you're saying, or you have something to say. Maybe it's just, not being afraid to groove, like you're saying, or just letting it sit and feel good, and that's...
Provide for others to create, you know.
Yeah. Because I enjoy that. We were at this jam session, this little outdoor hang, and I get up and start playing. He goes, solo. I'm like, yeah, I'm chilling, dude. This is exactly what I want to be doing. Go ahead and look at me. He's like, you see me that look like you? You play guitar. You also want to shred. Like, nah, man, just leave it here. And you can tell the band's getting anxious. Like, what's he doing? I'm like, I'm just trying to groove, man. Just keep it there. Keep it there. Let's
$6, man.
But I think it's fun to have those different things, but that's also in that moment. I understand. Okay, clearly their expectation is that I'm going to play a solo, and they want to hear me play a solo. The band does. You can see the audience anticipation. Okay, great, because the band has set that up. Mm-hmm. There's all this momentum.
They're all looking at you.
Yeah.
There's all this body language.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is what's expected. I'm going to do it, and it's going to be fun. And it's going to be great. But there's such a wide range of what you can do there. So again, audience awareness of what your entire surroundings. I think that's something sometimes people lose sight of when they're focused on this new 3-6-2-5 lick I just learned, and I want to play it over and over in all 12 keys by the time this jam session is over. Mm-hmm. Then you're just there for yourself to play these licks, and to show people that you can play these licks, which again is an ego thing, which can be fine, whatever. We all need to have a healthy amount of ego to do what we do well. I really believe that. But a healthy amount is not showing up. Check out this lick that I practiced. Mm-hmm. Oh, let's do this tune in B. And then it's like, okay, this is just a means for you to play that lick in that key. Now that's
or it's challenging you.
That's 5 sharp.
We're gonna play some B.
Yeah.
Keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not silly. I don't really like that.
But we've all been on different sides of that, I guess, throughout our years. So this is
vibe.
That's your one lesson today, Jazz Memes family. Hey, tune in tonight. We got a little live stream going. I don't know where the link is. Maybe down there. Maybe over there.
In the story.
I'm guessing
in the story.
In the story. The link is in the story. You're gonna swipe upward in the story
and take a left.
And check it out. It's gonna be a really cool show. It's really fun.
Yep. Some of that stuff is gonna be in there. There's gonna be.
You're gonna practice your list in the show.
There's gonna be licks. Yohannes is gonna have an avocado before the rehearsal.
Yeah.
Short notes and long notes.
Yeah. I'm gonna arc my solos. Actually, there's a
An
tune
F,
called
a ukulele.
yes.
An
There's
F
an-
tuned.
Yeah, a ukulele tuned in open F. There's a song. Actually, do I only take 2 guitar solos in this? Ellie
Oh, you take
and
on that.
Julia
Oh, what about the big one, Massive?
and Massive.
Yep.
That's Massive.
That's a massive.
Massive. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just going.
That goes to this, the
But
second
that's
one.
just kind
like
of
you waking up.
That's
Yeah.
it, and that's his concept.
Yeah.
He doesn't know where he's going.
You're waking
But-
up and taking a solo.
Honestly,
Yeah.
Julia. The other 2 tunes, Julia, I play it note for note the same every time.
Oh, great.
But it's
example.
like,
great example.
Yeah.
Composed solo.
yeah, composed solo. Kirk Hammett,
Mm-hmm.
Angus Young,
Jaco Pastorius.
Jocko.
Oh, composed.
There we go.
Amen.
We got so much to say. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Cheers, y'all.